So, come play in it. That was Kirby Smart's comment talking about people saying that the Dogs have a cupcake schedule. Ryan Curley, Dean Legge, Ryan Curley, another edition of Riding Home. We don't have a car in Nashville. Not that you need one. You can't drive around in the construction. He was asked, I can't remember who it was that asked him, but the discussion of Georgia having a softer schedule. And Kirby said, hey, I encourage anybody who wants to come play in this league to come play in it. And that's sort of his standard line. He said, come play in it. I'd love to invite any team that wants to come play in the SEC to do it.
Look, he's right. Like, these SEC games are tough.
They are
Last
tough.
year, Georgia only beat Kentucky by 10, a team that they were much better than. They probably should have beat Florida by more points than that. I thought that they were more
Florida played well.
Yeah, Florida played well in a game that matters to Florida. Missouri brought them to the very end of the game. So, look, it's a tough league that has most of the best players in the country. And a lot of the best coaches in the country and just in personnel in general. And people knock on the schedule for their reasons, but they have to play SEC competition as well. It's It is not Georgia's fault that Georgia is better. Well, it is because they tried to do this, but Georgia is a great team, and that means that the other teams they're playing are not as good as them. But what do you want them to play? Alabama and Ohio State and LSU and all of them in one, like, every single year? Cupcake schedule is not the right way. Maybe cupcake non-conference schedule is the way to put it. But as far as the SEC, their SEC schedule is no different than it usually is. They've always had the rotation with the West. Yeah. The SEC East teams are what the SEC East teams are. That is not Georgia's fault, other than the one loss that they may hand them every year.
So this would be a non-issue if Georgia were playing Oklahoma as scheduled. However, they are not permitted to play Oklahoma because of an agreement between those 16 schools that certain games would be juggled around. So Georgia going to Oklahoma will have to happen sometime in the future, probably, very possibly in 2015. That's a whole thing. Greg Sankey went into detail about that 2024 doesn't really matter to 2025. I got more to say about that in a second. Make sure you're picking up Double Dogs today. When you do, you will get our 2023 preview. Comes in the same packaging. Double Dogs is our look at the 2022 National Championship season. Just flipping to a page. And 2023 preview is the only one out there that's about Georgia. And it's not on newsstands. You can only get it at Dog Post and at Red Zone, which is the link down below. Red Zone on Clayton Street downtown in Athens. But, Georgia was supposed to play Oklahoma this season. A season ago, they opened with Oregon. The year before that, they played Clemson. 2020 was COVID. In 19, they played Notre Dame. In 18, they did not have a challenging game, so to speak. In 17, it was Notre Dame. In 16, it was North Carolina. So, with the exception of 2020, which they had no control over in any way, as well as 2018, they have not been able to schedule their second Power 5 non-conference team. It is also not Georgia's fault that Georgia Tech is in why are you laughing, Ryan?
I just was curious. I can't wait to see where you go with it.
Why are you laughing, Ryan? It's not Georgia's fault that Georgia Tech has become a shadow. That it plays in Region 6 AAA or whatever it is now. Tech is not good. That's not Georgia's fault. I don't think Georgia wants Georgia Tech to be good, but they always are going to play one another. So you see everybody downstairs, right? I mean, these are the people that are talking about it being a weak schedule. Do you think they understand nuance in any way? Because I've gone through almost 4 minutes of this video explaining things, but you can't tweet that. But you can say how easy this Georgia schedule is.
You could thread it, maybe.
You could thread it, or whatever you could IG
whatever the
it.
term is.
What is it? You could post it.
You
could post it.
No, it's look, I get it, but it's a focus on the non-conference schedule is really what it is, and it's crazy how one game being removed turned into this is a cupcake schedule. Georgia would have probably beat the crap out of Oklahoma, right? Just because they traveled to traveling to Norman puts miles on you, and
Yeah, I'm not
it's
for that.
tired, and
So-
that would probably be a pretty energetic environment. So
Oh, yeah.
it would affect Georgia in other ways throughout the season because all of that ticks and adds on. But Georgia would probably beat Oklahoma by 4 touchdowns. I mean, I think they're probably
4
that much better.
touchdowns.
Oklahoma will probably be improved from what they were last season, but I don't think Oklahoma is this contender.
Well, I think when you look at, I mean,
Well, no,
Go ahead.
Seriously, like, okay, what if it was
who does Clemson play this
This was
season?
NC State. Or
I
something
mean-
like
I
that.
mean,
and NC State got removed. It's more so because Oklahoma is a name brand type of thing.
I mean, they
rather
are
than
very
where
similar
they
to
are.
NC State.
Yeah,
they were
rather-
6 and 7 a year ago.
Exactly, and NC State is.
I don't know. They
it
don't
was just
matter.
an example, right? I don't like
NC State doesn't matter in any
I didn't
way.
mean to throw strays at NC State, but
So Clemson, Clemson gets beat up with this a lot, and
that is not their fault.
It is not their
As
fault.
much as we come on here and make fun of Clemson sometimes,
which is always fun, but they do play Notre Dame.
they make sure they
This
have
is
that.
a much more challenging schedule for Clemson, and here's why. Florida State's good. It's like, when does that happen? All right, they're going to have to fight their way out of Raleigh, which they did not do the last time. And they got Notre Dame, and then they got South Carolina.
At South Carolina, who beat them last year.
Who beat them last year,
and who might be better than they were last year. But
So Clemson used to have to digest that sort of foolishness all the time. But, LSU and Florida State are opening the season. It is sort of a thing where I guess what frustrates me, if you want to, I don't know that frustrates the right word, but it's just like when you're at Thanksgiving and, and let's say you're married into an Ohio State family or Michigan or whoever, and they're like, man, they don't ever play anybody down there, Like, what? Like, Michigan State falls on its face every other year. Penn State is Arrested Development at 9-3. That's just what they are. It's just what it is, and those are pretty good teams up there, to be honest with you. One of them has made the college football playoff. The other one's named Penn State. So for Georgia, I don't really think there's really much left to talk about here. I mean, who are they supposed to play? Everybody?
That's my point. And if you want it on a yearly basis, then you got your wish, because that's coming soon, right? Where they're going to play at least one big brand name team in addition to the ones they usually would.
In their last 30 games, they have not just played but defeated these teams: Clemson, LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas Christian. I said LSU as well.
You already said
and
LSU.
Ohio State. Okay, whatever it is.
Florida, Auburn.
Florida,
those are big brands
those
too, but are the teams
allegedly
they play
don't
every
matter
year.
anymore because they're not good. So every team that's played for a college football playoff since its inception, Georgia has beaten them in the last 30 games. So what we do as a society, and it's not the media necessarily, although the media is really good at reinforcing stereotypes at times, is we ignore what has happened recently, and we say we can only look at what's in front of us and say, oh, this is an easy schedule. What if Auburn's good? What if Ole Miss is good? Georgia plays both those teams
That's
this
the one
year.
no one talks about is Ole Miss.
Ole Miss
towards
could
the back
totally
end of
give
the
Georgia
schedule.
trouble.
I think that they might be a really good team.
Would you rather play Oklahoma or Ole Miss? I think you'd rather play Oklahoma.
I would rather play
Correct.
Oklahoma.
Correct. But you get to play Ole Miss at home, and Kirby was talking about today how Ole Miss could be a real challenge, and I think that's possible. Like Georgia should beat Ole Miss, but they could lose that game. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
So week before they go to Knoxville?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and they could lose to Tennessee. I mean, but damn. I mean,
How many times have we seen really good teams?
I left out TCU.
No,
I
you
left
said
out-
TCU.
TCU,
You got
Ohio,
everyone. You got
TCU,
everyone.
Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, Oregon, Alabama. That's the 6. There we
That's
go.
your 6,
That's
yeah.
all 6 who have played for the college football national championship. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh my God, I think I might have forgot.
Well, it's my fault, but it is sad that like we just look we these talking points. It's like, man, damn y'all. I mean, they have worked for a long time at Georgia to play challenging games. The Gators have not always done that. I mean, the Gators. This is the first time the Gators.
They've got a challenging schedule
They,
this year.
they do
This
for
year.
sure.
Yeah.
It's hard, Florida.
Yeah.
But they got to go to Utah. I would never schedule that game. And they did.
They did. They scheduled
To their
them.
credit, I would not play UCF if I were them. Not really. Why? What does Florida benefit from that? And then they got to play Florida State.
Is there a
You're
real
three-
financial? Is there a real financial benefit to that?
I think there was an embarrassment thing that was happening there for them. But I think for
I kind of get why Florida's doing that right now,
but dude, you got to win games.
yeah, you do. Well,
I mean, Chris Dorian was talking about how they'd be lucky to get 6 wins.
I think that's
That
how a
is
lot of people
not
feel.
good.
Yeah, that's how
That
a lot
is
of
not a
people
good situation. You need W's. You need W's when your arch nemesis has won back-to-back national championships, and your other arch nemesis seems to be sniffing around the top 5. That's kind of problematic, is what I would say. But anyway, the Dogs. It's not a challenging schedule, but why are you bothered by that? Final thought.
Well, I think some Georgia fans are bothered by it too because they want to see a little bit more excitement, I guess.
There's what Josh Brooks and Jerry Moorhead have to do in scheduling here, and I included Jerry Moorhead, is you've got to figure out if there's value for purchasing season tickets. And you're talking about $30-ish million in revenue that Georgia is getting from ticket revenue, as not to mention the donations. There's got to be value there when you have a home schedule.
You know how to make everyone shut up about the schedule is probably the night games. Having more night games, I think, would make people back off of that.
They can't control that.
No,
because
it's not.
They
It's
can't
not.
control that. There's another discussion about that some other time.